Hey, what's going on, everybody? Just want to get into it today. Um, it is Columbus Day, aka Indigenous People Day, and today's topic I want to go into is called hiding in plain sight. Let's just get into it. And I think the point today, hiding in plain sight, is pretty strongly shown by what Columbus Day represents. And y'all know I'm a big history buff, so I feel like everything can be answered in history. Like literally everything. It sets the path forward. We think about what is normal, right? How does this world where it's at right now? You know what I'm saying? Like, and it all is told in history. So if you don't really have an understanding of history or an appreciation for it, there's no way you can really move forward in the best way because you really don't know what happened in the past. And what I want to start with, I guess, is like that phrase that we always kind of say is like, the truth lies somewhere in the middle, right? There's one side here and there's one side here, and the truth is somewhere in that gray area in between, right? And it's funny how we anecdotally sort of just know that that's true. However, when we look at a lot of history and even some current events, we seem to sweep that logic completely out the window. And I think one of the best examples of that is Columbus Day. Up until recently, we now know that this man was a murderer, a genocidal monster, a liar, a purveyor of disease, brutal, a thief, and didn't discover anything. Like, let's just have that premise in the beginning that we know that there were people there, so he didn't discover it. And there's lots of evidence that both African and Asian explorers went there before him. So just the fact that he can even say, like, his perspective is the only thing that would say that he discovered anything, right? You would only have to look at his perspective and ignore just about everything else to even give that title. But if we look at history, that's what it is, right? History is really the winner's story. You know what I'm saying? It is never everyone's kind of compilation of such, and our history, if you look at it now, we're kind of having to roll back the European lens of what we were told about everything, like everything. And I just encourage you to, when there's stories where two parties are involved, go check out the other side and what they have to say. It's not evil, you know what I'm saying, just to read it. You know what I'm saying? I was like, and you might still gravitate towards the history that you have always been used to, but at least check it out. It goes back into, I mean, they've lied literally about everything. Like, foremost, I think racism cannot exist without historical lies. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just cannot. Race is an invented category. There were people of different hues and colors, you know what I'm saying, mixed in so many societies. They didn't view it like that. But race was inserted to try and change the whole world dynamic, which is what's happened, to separate it by some sort of color and unity that, like, really actually and naturally does not exist at all. And they did that to try and minimize anything coming out of Africa. And if you have studied anything about Africa that is like outside of just the traditional European lens, you'd find out that most of the things they told you about Africa are complete lies. I mean, I'll say, like, when I was younger, I was a victim of this. And I was fortunate enough to have like parents that really didn't play that shit and had me studying and reading alternative sources and really studying it. But like, they would have had you believe that like nothing came out of Africa until Europeans came to settle it. Like, and I'm not even going to go there, but like, I'm just saying that is like unbelievably not true. And you can I can give you some resources later for that, but like, I digress. But we are kind of digging out of that, and the notion that nothing great came out of Africa, we are subhuman and all these things, this lens that has kind of been that justified them exploiting us, that justified them enslaving us. They called us animals, but they were raping us, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, that, does that really make any sense? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a bestiality person, you're raping your horses too. Like, I know, but I digress. But allowing that just to be on his face, like, they adopted fake science. They had like scientists saying, like, look at the black brain and look at the black body, and they're like different and all those things. Like, they literally invented pseudoscience. They erased and created history in order just to present this worldview that they would push forward. and it has damage throughout time. And I think today, you know what I'm saying, of course, with Columbus Day, you know what I'm saying, is the biggest example of that. Like, even in their own history, they rewrite it. So Columbus was disgraced. Like, so Columbus was so unbelievably brutal, so unbelievably corrupt that like his own colonists and slaves like revolted against him, and he was taken back in prison and stripped of all his stuff. Now, of course, later, they whitewashed him and pardoned him and everything, but he was a literally terrible human being that was like not meant to be revered. But yet he had like no one knows any of that, right? All that was like done because it didn't serve the history that they wanted to promote. So all that stuff was a lie. And I think the other thing that like really disturbs me that this is really like shows its face on is Haiti. Like Haiti to me, every person needs to big up Haiti. Like, what a wonderful success story. Like, in terms of liberation, like that we should all really get behind. Like, Hispaniola, small history, which is like the island of Haiti and Dominican Republic, was formerly a complete Spanish colony. Of course, Europeans split it up, you know what I'm saying? And then Haiti became French. Hispaniola, modern day Dominican Republic. And the French people were particularly cruel, like notoriously cruel. And they brought more slaves on Haiti per capita than any other place on the planet. So their whole point was just to exploit and pillage and all these things. To the point now where today over 90% of the land is destroyed from deforestation because they just pillaged everything out. I'm saying they had all these majority slaves here. They were unbelievably cruel. And so finally, the slaves revolted and won their independence, right? Yay. You know what I'm saying? This should be great. Unfortunately, not for Haiti, because what happened after that? So they were the first, majority black nation in the Western Hemisphere to achieve independence. And you know what happened. All the other white European countries got together and they sabotaged them. So even though they were free, they had the same exports and all those things, they just wouldn't trade with them. They wanted to sabotage that nation to make sure it did not succeed and wanted to have all these negative stereotypes on them. You know what I'm saying? And tried to pressure all their European friends to try and sabotage them to the point where decades later, France came back and basically said, we're going to kill all of you and destroy the entire island unless you pay us for your freedom. So yes, today, Haitians were paying terms of $60 billion in reparations to France for their own freedom. And mind you, you brought them over here, right? Like, there's no need to say how fucking ridiculous that is, right? You know what I'm saying? That you actually are paying for your own freedom when you already murdered half of them, brought them over here, rooted them from their homeland, lost their whole identity and culture, and then destroyed the majority of the land that they have there to work, and then sabotage them from trading with all partners. But you fast forward to today, you're like, oh, Haiti's just crazy. They can never govern themselves. Why are they so poor? Oh, look what happens when you let black people rule each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's literally trying to create this narrative that they literally created and are still creating. Like Haitians, and one of the reasons I think they're unstable right now, because I think about 10 years ago, there was a president that was demanding reparations from Europe, demanding them. And look what happened to him. He's now in exile. And the country's in utter chaos. And no one's going to help him. How could this country get together without getting those reparations, without addressing any of the things, the historical stuff that was going on? You just want them just to all of a sudden be okay, and while you're still exploiting them, while you're still not setting up their infrastructure, while you're still demanding them to pay reparations, but you still are just saying, oh, it's a shithole country that has nothing to do with anything. History. If you don't know the history, you just allow that narrative to go through unchecked and unchallenged. And I implore you, that's like literally the history of anything that touches black people in this world. Just about anything that you've learned that is like the European version of that is probably 50% not true. I implore you, if you don't take anything from this, is just go to ask them. Look at the records of Haitians. Look at the records of people in Africa. Just see how they have viewed history and what they have written. Take a gander. See if it makes a little sense to you. You know what I'm saying? And so I say on this fake Columbus Day is that it's hiding in plain sight. It's hiding in plain sight. And at this point, we just can't claim, oh, it's just the Europeans doing that. Of course, we know what they're doing, but the information is out there for us to get. And you know they're attacking it. Just look at the school districts are doing in Florida and other schools. They're literally trying to erase Black history out of American history now. And if they do that, what do you think is going to happen in the next 50 years when the next couple of generations grow up? They have no appreciation for how things came to be. And it's just going to be that narrative that they want promoted about us and our history and all that. It's happening again. Are we going to allow it? Until next time.